Welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker and Chaz Price. 419-794-3030 is the phone number. The website, arhq.com. I want to remind you, if you missed the first half of the show or previous editions of the show and you want to catch up, the show is available via podcast on YouTube. Just search, wherever you consume your media. Just look for America's Retirement Headquarters. All the previous episodes there for you to consume at your leisure. Again, just search for America's Retirement Headquarters. It is estimated that 1 in 5 American households are caring for a special needs child, and living with their parents after they become adults poses a whole new set of financial issues. Cindy Haddad is the author of the Special Needs Planning Guide. She talked to Morningstar recently.
We need to talk about the reality that someday parents may physically not be able to care for their child in the way that they've been accustomed to. And the worst thing that could happen is the parent dies or the parent becomes disabled and needs to go to an assisted living or nursing home. And then who else is there to pick up the pieces for both? So it just makes it even more complex. If there are other brothers and sisters, you're leaving a double burden to them to figure out how to care for mom and dad, how to care for their sibling, and also how to live their own life.
Have you guys done financial planning for families with a special needs child, and what obstacles did you help them overcome in the process?
I think there, is such an importance when you have a family that has a special needs to understand, how to navigate kind of the landscape. One of the things that I really like about our organization is what we talk about as our team approach. And the decisions that are made with financial planning are going to impact things like taxes. They're going to impact things like government benefits. They're going to impact things like estate planning. So this is an area where I think it's so crucial to work with a team where you have the financial planner, you have the estate planning attorney, you have the CPA, all kind of working together with the client to make those type of decisions. I have 2 young boys, not necessarily in a special needs situation, but I know when my kids were young, one of the things that I was concerned about was beneficiaries. Heaven forbid if something happened to mom and dad and we both passed away, my kids at a young age, I still have one in college and one in high school. They're becoming more mature, but their ability to deal with the management of money, could be somewhat of a challenge. Mm-hmm. We see that same type of concern that comes up with things like beneficiary mistakes when dealing with special needs. Now, you can compound it in the fact that, some people who are special needs children, they actually are getting some type of government benefit. And so if these assets like the retirement accounts, the 401ks are left in a beneficiary designation to that special needs child, they could lose out on some of their benefits.
Mm-hmm. Medicaid and SSI.
Yeah. And, when that discussion was just had there that Cindy was talking about, the Special Needs Planning Guide, I think another area that she talked a lot about was that caregiver instruction.
Yeah, caregiver instruction. And so, that's basically what we would refer to as more of a letter of intent, something that's going to provide guidance and information about for future caregivers about your child and give any specific medical history maybe, or any other preferences maybe that the child has. Their daily routines are a big one, social activities, any future goals. And so, a letter of intent, while it's not legally binding, it's a tremendous resource for future caregivers because it's going to allow you, and I would say not even a parent, but I've got a client that is a caregiver for their special needs sister. And so anybody that you want to be able to communicate wishes and expectations for the child or even the adult's life, I think is important to have a written letter of intent. But you hit it on the head there. I think the number one issue is the eligibility for some of these government benefits. And so watching out for, having potentially a special needs trust. And this is where we work with an attorney, but watching out for some of those pitfalls so that they don't inherit a ton of money and then are no longer eligible for Medicaid or Social Security or any other government benefit, which is definitely a big part of their care. Another one, I would think to add to the list of topics to discuss would be guardianship. And so you kind of touched on it a little bit, and this isn't even for special needs children, but this is for kids in general. I had a situation where the stepmom left money to the grandkids, and one of the grandkids was under 18. And the mother came in, and she wasn't automatically the guardian for the child. She had a birth certificate, but that doesn't show that she's financially or just eligible to be that person. So they actually had to go through a court process to have the mother actually be determined as the actual guardian. So you need to get that stuff written in advance, not just for special needs children, but for any child. You want to make sure that you have a guardianship or a power of attorney for your child, up until when they turn 18.
Yeah, I mean, when we're thinking about it from an estate perspective, these are issues that you don't get a do-over. So whatever's in writing is oftentimes what's going to happen, and that's when these blow-ups could occur. I can think of another situation, Chaz, that we were working with, and we'll call these people Tom and Sarah. Tom and Sarah have a special needs child. Their child is going to need care for his entire lifetime. He's already getting some of these government benefits. But, for Tom and Sarah, they came in and they had done a decent job. They built up a nice nest egg for their retirement. They don't necessarily need it because of Social Security, pensions, and their other sources of income. But when we looked at this and went through the planning process, one of the things that really jumped out in their situation is, heaven forbid, if mom or dad needed some type of long-term care, under the spend-down rules, meaning that mom and dad needed to pay for their care if they ended up in a nursing home, the worst possible case scenario is that they then exhaust all of these assets because mom and dad needed long-term care. And by planning ahead and taking a look at the situation, we were able to give them some advice that they were able to go take to their financial advisor and be able to implement some strategies on how to be able to kind of protect their assets if they needed long-term care. And by doing that now, it was one of those areas that was able to kind of check off the list. Now, in addition to that, the plan that we had structured, it also incorporated some life insurance. So another potential issue that we talk about is when one of the spouses passes away, the income needs don't necessarily get cut in half. They may go down a little bit, but there still can be value in the form of life insurance to protect the surviving spouse's income, and also from, again, maximizing that estate plan. If mom and dad don't spend it, that money could be more efficient transferring over. Life insurance can be paid out income tax-free, probate-free cash. So again, dealing with financial planning for a special needs child, this is an area that takes some white gloves to deal with. This is an area that America's Retirement Headquarters, we can help work with your team. You might have an accountant, maybe you have an attorney that you work with, but if you don't, let's get everybody all on the same side of the table together to help you develop a plan. So heaven forbid, if something happens to you, you're not put into a crisis situation, and we get you and your family the care that you need if and when you ever need it.
Speaking from experience with a special needs child of my own, it is important to have the team, in our case, the medical team, have them all be aligned and on the same page. The same sort of thing when it comes to taking care of your special needs child, either while you are living or if you're, medically incapacitated or what have you. Make sure everyone is still aligned to make sure that what is best for your child, your special needs child going forward, or, in any situation, a spouse, what have you, it all comes back down to having a plan. And the team at America's Retirement Headquarters can help you with that. 419-794-3030 is the phone number, or you can go to the website as well. Schedule a time, always available day and night, arhq.com.